Today, I'm talking about the Saucony Triumph 18 after 100 miles. .08 miles, 8 minutes 51 seconds per mile, 141 beats per minute on average for today, getting the Triumph 18 over the 100 mile mark. Now, before I give you my thoughts on this shoe after that 100 miles, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that I purchased with my own money. No one sent it to me or is paying me to make this video. No one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about this Saucony Triumph 18. This is a shoe that I put in top 5 best max cushion shoes of the year. It's part of that new school of max cushion shoes where you're getting all that cushion and comfort, but you're not getting mired down in extra squishiness. And that is a trend in the max cushion category that I generally like. Now, in terms of its credentials, it's got 32 millimeters of stack height in the heel, making it a pretty tall shoe, an 8 millimeter drop. So you got 24 millimeters of PWRRUN Plus midsole foam in the forefoot here. And the PWRRUN Plus is a TPU-based material that's new for Saucony. It looks like Boost, it behaves like Boost, but they say it's supposed to be lighter and performs better. And I'll say, I think that they're right on that. I think that the shoe definitely backs up that claim. Now, I initially started running with this shoe back in the end of July, early August, so towards the end of the summer, but I did have to take about a 4-month break from it as I developed a bit of runner's knee. It was actually probably a little bit more than a bit of runner's knee, and I felt like shoes that had any stability type of elements were really exacerbating the kind of the pain and discomfort that I was feeling. I'm not actually sure that this shoe has any stability elements in it, but if it did, it'd be right in this area that's highlighted by this little island of rubber. That's kind of the area in shoes where if there is some extra stiffness or rigidity posting in that midsole foam, my knee would definitely start to notice it. And that was something that happened with this shoe and a couple of other shoes over the summer. But I've gotten that all resolved, and now I'm back into the Saucony Triumph 18 in a pain-free way, and I'm very glad to be back in it. Now, since I've been back, I've been running anywhere between 5 to 13 mile stretches in this shoe, and the thing just loves to run. I love using it as a recovery shoe. I love using it as an easy long run shoe. But because of the way that this material behaves, that's not the only thing that it can do. In fact, in today's run, I did have some strides built into this 13-mile run. So I had 10 30-second bursts, 30 seconds on, 30-second jog at about mile power in terms of my power number. And that felt surprisingly good. Even though this is a max cushion shoe, it's a little bit on the heavy side, yet this midsole material still was up to the task for today. So what I did find was I had some uphill segments and some downhill segments just by the nature of kind of the terrain that I have around me here in Iowa. And I found that going uphill, I was very easily able to overshoot some of the power numbers that I was shooting for my on periods. The shoe loves running uphill, and I think it's because of that bounciness that's in there and maybe that 8 millimeter drop as well. It just really enjoys running uphill, which is nice because I really don't like running uphill, so it was a good companion to have there. But on the other hand, when I was going downhill, I found it really hard to reach those power numbers that I was shooting for my strides today. And I'm thinking that it might be just this shoe because of that weight. It's 11.3 ounces for my US men's size 9. I just don't know if I can get the turnover fast enough for like what my body is able to do. Lots of people can certainly run much faster than I was able to run today in the shoe without any problem. But for me, I just felt like I couldn't get the legs turned over quick enough. And that's where I think some of the more relaxed nature of this shoe was starting to really kind of come to the forefront. But then again, what we're talking about there is paces that are under my goal 5K pace, closer towards my mile pace. So it's not a huge problem for the way that I would recommend that most people use the shoe and the way that I think the shoe is intended to be used. I think the shoe is intended to be used for those recovery days and those long run days, Could even be used as a daily trainer by a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are using it that way for sure. The shoe just loves to eat miles, and it loves to get out there and run, and I had a fantastic time. Once I got all my issues, my runner's knee issues resolved, I had a fantastic time running in this shoe. Now, over the last 100 miles, in terms of the wear and tear, the PWRRUN Plus material, it does about the same thing that I've seen when I run in Boost shoes from Adidas. I've had experience with the Triumph 17. It's doing about the same thing that it did there as well. For the most part, the foam feels fresh. It feels like it's straight out of the box still, which is amazing after 100 miles. There is a little bit of discoloration in the forefoot, kind of in the crevices between these like pellets in terms of the way that the foam is designed. It's cosmetic. It's not really affecting the foot strike at all. It still feels like I've got tons of cushion and protection underfoot. The rubber is wearing in the spots that I would normally expect to see it. Right here on the outer part of the heel, I'm getting kind of a little bit more wear than I'd like to for a shoe that I feel like otherwise could easily get you 300 plus miles. So the rubber wearing here as fast as it is a little bit of a concern. But in terms of the forefoot, there's hardly any wear in here at all. It's very difficult for me to even see it, even on very, very close inspection. So I feel like if you're mostly a forefoot striker in here, this is definitely going to last you a really long time. The upper has been treating me really well. They've pared it down a little bit from the Triumph 17 last year. I'd love to see them pare it down even further, especially because this is what I've been calling that new school of max cushion. The old school of max cushion was super cushioned. You know, who cares how much slower you're going? You're going to be comfortable and you're going to get your miles in. The uppers on those shoes were also super plush. You're just like sticking your foot inside memory foam. There's a little bit of that still going on here, especially in the tongue. You've got it in the back here in the part that's going to touch your Achilles tendon and the parts that are touching your heel. Everything kind of in this collar right here is puffy. It's a little less puffy than it was last year, but still really puffy. And I just don't think that that's necessary. I wish that that wouldn't happen there. When I want a long run shoe, when I want a recovery shoe, I don't really care how much puffiness there is in the tongue. I've never thought like, this shoe would be great if it only were puffier. I've never said that before. Granted, I'm not the typical max cushion shoe customer. It's not my favorite like type of shoe generally. So maybe I'm injecting some of my like idiosyncratic preferences to it. But I think especially because the shoe is coming in at 11.3 ounces, I think like they could pare down some of that puffiness, switch out these laces, which I absolutely detest. They're big, round, puffy, and stretchy laces, and there's just way too much of it here. Even if you're doing a runner's knot, I still think there's just way too much lace for no discernible reason. I feel like if they did that, you'd have a much better experience. The material that's like from like the toe box forward, I like that. I would just love to have a lot more of that throughout the rest of the shoe, because like the further back you go, just the more junk there is in this upper. Not to say that it's a junky upper, but there's just a lot more stuff that I tend to not love quite as much. There's a pretty substantial heel counter back here as well. They do a really great job of hiding it and making it look a little bit incognito, just part of like the design, but it's pretty stiff back here and there's a lot of it. Even though I'm not feeling like that hint of stability, maybe there is or isn't that in this shoe, what I do feel like is like that this back heel is just like one block. And so it's a little bit fighting me just a little bit. Usually the first couple miles of a run, especially if I've been running in other more flexible shoes, when I get into this, I feel a lot of that heel cup stability and that rigidity that's in here. It's not a problem. It kind of mellows it out, or my foot mellows out after about 2 miles or so, but it's something that I'm still noticing in here. And again, I think that's going to be a plus for a lot of people that want to be kind of like channeled inside the shoe a little bit more securely. You're gonna like that. For me, it ended up being something that I was fighting a little bit. But those are all like really minor detractions. I'm really just nitpicking at this point because the real story of this shoe is this midsole foam. It's fantastic. It can handle a variety of paces. It can handle a variety of distances as well. If you want to go long, you want to rack up those big miles on your long runs over the weekend, this is definitely a shoe that I have no problems reaching for. So those are my thoughts on the Triumph 18 after 100 miles. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do just about every day, 3 p.m. Central Time right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?